Oh, well, this is Ryder here to review the Avataro Sentai Donbrothers versus Zenkaiger DX Don the DX DonZenkai Blade. I can't believe I actually broke. Like, my brain just was trying to say DX again, but I said Don. Anyways, this is surprisingly our first roleplay V-Cinema or slash V-Cinex toy pack-in since Drive Saga Kamen Rider Chaser back in 2014. Was it? Yeah, it's gotta be 2014. Anyways, this is the this is the transformation item that both Don Momotaro and eventually Zenkaiger obtained to transform into their two forms, DonZenkai Momotaro and Goldon Zenkaiger and such. To which, interestingly enough, they actually do use the two pictures from the cover, which is actually neat and such. So obviously we have the logo there. We have things theming from both sides. I forget what this is called. And it does come with the Victory Super Avataro gear, or is it just gear? No, Avataro gear Victory Super. And then jeez, there goes Irene. But I do like the duality of both of these and such. And then, okay, so here we have again Goldon Zenkaiger and DonZenkai Momotaro and such. They're very simple armor swaps, which I think they could have been more inspiring, but at least with Goldon Zenkaiger, I definitely prefer that one more than DonZenkai Momotaro. Tells us to use it in the Dawn Blaster, and then to just use this as it is. And then I'm just going to put it this way. Here's the QR code for the PDF file. Let's take a look at the disc. Or not disc. Let's take a look at this thing sealed. I keep forgetting to film this, but this is just, you know, before I actually open it. But this is the shipping box that the DonZenkai Blade comes in. It basically has all the information that the Obi will have. And I also apologize for the lighting being very one-sided. But obviously the box is heavily noted because of the polar bear and such. The fact that the box is basically a prop piece, which is, I like the dedication they went through here, but I just wanted to point out the shipper box because I might actually do this on the stream because I already forgot. And then here is the set opened. Again, as I previously shown before. Again, this is luckily the smallest one we've gotten, but obviously because it's literally in a bigger box and such. But obviously for some reason they really like putting Blu-ray disc in DVD cases. It's annoying. And here we have the photo book and such, or the photo booklet they call it and such. Again, if you actually do want to see me opening this, then go watch the last live stream this was in. So here's again the content of the box. We have the DonZenkai Blade itself and the Avataro gear of the set. To which we'll actually take a look at the Avataro gear because this is obviously what summons the blade. To which, as I said before, this is what they call the Victory Super gear. So they are not following, obviously they're not following what Whoop-Pat did of Victory and Siren. They just changed Siren to Super. And this one is actually really interesting because it's still the standard gold mech Avataro gear. So technically this should be a Robotaro gear, but obviously because of the occasion it's an Avataro gear. And as you can see from here, we have Donbrothers and Zenkaiger handshaking and such. With it, the side profile is pretty neat. And interestingly enough, they went with the red chrome and such. I think they've done this before, but I don't recall which gears were of a red chrome, but I do recall them doing that. And then this one, as you can barely see, is B091 or 7. It's 1, and it still has the trans stamp here and such. And it is a Donbrothers gear because it's double notch, so I think it would have been cool if it was a gear that could have worked in both devices. But at last, I get it. It's a Donbrothers. This is mostly a Donbrothers thing and such. So, taking a look at the main item itself, that is Zenkaiger looking, the DonZenkai Blade itself. And as you can tell from here, it's yet again another retooling of the Zonglass sword. But I don't mind it whatsoever because, again, in the stance of this one's a retail release technically. So that's cool. As you can see from here, the base of this is white with red on the handle and such. And the big difference obviously is the tampograph, I think you call this, or just like the design up here. Is this a sticker? It seems like it. But obviously this design here is like heavily different because instead of what the Zonglass sword had of just basically being light reflections and such, because you can tell, like if you rub your like finger through here, you can tell this is printed on and such. But like this one, definitely for sure, it's a sticker. But I don't mind. But as you can tell from here, like it's supposed to be like light reflections and such. But here it's the 4 Kikainoids. They're the Sentai gears and such, with the background of the Rukono Geki stuff. Or like, I feel like this is typically what you would see with the Rukono Geki, but which is really cool and such. And I already brought it out, so here's a comparison with the Zonglass sword. Obviously, the biggest thing, however, to which I appreciate this a lot, they replaced this with a Sentai gear, and it's just nice, and it still spins pretty fluently and such. And obviously we have the Zenkaiger symbol as opposed to the Donbrothers symbol and such. Like, again, this is such like a really cool thing, like a full circle thing they did. Even though this is still primarily a Donbrothers device, which is, I think, kind of weird. And like, here's the Ninjark sword if you really want to compare the disc. Yeah, even the Ninjark sword, you can tell it's printed and such. But yeah. So, before we get into this, and before actually I put it away, this still requires 3 AAA batteries right here and such. We are actually gonna use the Dawn Blaster first because that's how it was done in the Visa Nex. So when we insert this gear, like so, what? it did not read the notch up here. There. So yeah, if we were to compare this gear with, I don't know, the Alter gear, as you can tell, or I mean, from looking from here, you're not going to be able to tell. But if you turn them around and look at the numbering, as you can see, this one's C091, and this one being B091. Yeah, they're both the same gear. But I don't mind it because technically, I think in the sense of how this is used, this is technically because we kind of knew from the Mini Pub blog, or the Candy Toy blog, that they stated that there was no such thing as a Zenkaiger altar, and I think that's just because of the fact the Zenkaiger altar is technically the DonZenkai Blade itself, to which I don't mind. So we're gonna put this back and turn this on like so. So just switch this up. So we do have a yellow LED with it's still, the LEDs here are back to how the Zonglass sword were. They're not like how the Ninjark sword was, where they limited them. And just like the Ninjark sword, you can just slash normally. To which I think they're the same colors as the Zonglass sword. So we will do them again. And just like the Zonglass sword, you can hold this down still. And then, again, you can either press this or spin it. So pretty interesting, they still carry that over. However, to transform into the form, you are going to spin the gear up to 4 times. As you can see, each word designates to a different color. And there's no standby, it just goes back into being flashing white. So here we have the standby. As you can hear, it's the Omikoshi Phoenix standby with the Zenkai time vocals. I apologize. You press the trigger to initiate the transformation. You don't spin it again and such. To which I really like the transformation because it's the Zenkaiger transformation, but obviously with a Donbrothers rendition, and obviously now you're the #1 in space. To which, again, all of these are still the same and such. So the last thing you can do on its own is spin this up to 4 times again. So again, we have the Zenroku Zenkai Cannon standby alongside the traditional Zonglass Sword finisher standby. And yet, I think you have to do that again. Again, you have all 7 LEDs. So yeah, that's basically, it's basically the Zonglass sword by itself and such, because basically because if you don't recall, the Zonglass sword did have 2 finishers, but they basically made the first finisher in this one the transformation, and the second finisher the actual finisher. However, if you want to transform again, you can't. Because as you saw from there, you're permanently stuck to just doing the finisher. And maybe I wonder if this resets it. But no, it just resets the cycle. So yeah, you can only transform once, which is kind of weird, because if you want to transform again, you have to turn it off and turn it back on. Also, I want to state here, there's no phrases in this toy. Oddly enough, there's no phrases. Which, I feel like there could have definitely been phrases if it worked the same like the ninja sword. Whoops. But anyways, we'll go with the Dawn Blaster compatibility and such, to which it works the same like the Zonglass sword. You want to line the sensor obviously up to here. So you get the same standby, and obviously you want to finish you. So as you can hear from there, you actually do get a different ending phrase and such, but everything else is basically the same. What I was going to say earlier is that obviously you still want to follow the same rhythmic pattern with the Dawn Blaster and such. And then if we were to use a Donbrothers gear, it's the same thing. So I'll just say this. Basically, this version of the sounds you get from either using the 5 Donbrothers, their Rolotaro gears, all the Alter gears, and like again, if you, I got this. So I think that's it. I think we cover the 3 types. Well, again, we didn't cover a Robotaro gear and such, but that basically, that sound again is from the Donbrothers gears, and I have to specify the 5, the Robotaro gears, and all the Alter gears. If we were to just jump straight into, well, first of all, obviously this is a Zenkaiger thing too, technically, so what if we were to use a Zenkaiger gear? So as you can hear, we have the standby again. So as you can see, the LEDs are just red, and we actually do get a different sound. It's not as like, upbeat as like the actual final finisher. However, if we actually do go back to some of our Senpaigers, So again, I grabbed one from each set, so... This is the standby from, like, the first finisher in the Zonquest Sword. So yeah, as you can hear from there, they actually changed the prefix before Blade and such, which is pretty interesting. So here's Kyuranger. Gotta pick up Irene. Alright. Obviously they're taking them from the altars, but like it's still like a pretty cool thing that they did. Then here is Zenkaiger. Trying to use ones I don't recall using in other videos. So yeah, if we were to use a Sentai out of that are not part of the Zenkaiger lineup, they are all under the Super Sentai umbrella. Which, I mean, it's at least something unique. Because it's at least a new Super Sentai announcement. Because I don't think that was in the Omikoshi Phoenix. Speaking of Omikoshi Phoenix, here's the Avataro gear Kiwami, or the Avataro Kiwami gear. This one is basically going to lead into where everything else is going to go. And I mean it when I say, like, all the other, like, gears go into this category for some reason. Because if I do go back and pull out the Geats Avataro gear, okay, this actually doesn't help because obviously Geats is not programmed here, so most people are going to probably say, well, of course it's not going to say Geats, it's still secret, but it's like, no, for some reason, I don't know. I think I would have gone with special. I don't know why they chose secret, or they made the secret sound the special sound. It's kind of weird. However, I guess if you're still in denial, I didn't grab a proper. This is the closest one. Here is Juron. Basically, if you wanted to see whether or not the actual Zenkaiger gears, like the actual Zenkaiger Sentai gears actually do anything special, no, they're all just regulated under Zenkai Blade and such. Same with Stacy's and such too. So, I think that basically, again, does hit the gist of the Dawn Blaster stuff. If we were to use it with the Tiger Dora, so I will show this off with Donjuro Goku because it might be confusing for people. You have to let this run for once and then press it. So yeah, oddly enough, because of the nature of Donjuro Goku and Torvald in the Dawn Blaster, because if you don't recall, these three are the new heroes in the Dawn Blaster. So it reads them off. I think all four of his gears are read off as secret blades and such, which is pretty interesting. But I will grab a Zenkaiger. Here's Rokugo. But I hope you get that. Basically, this thing acts like the Ninja Sword, where they didn't program this to actually work differently when it interacts with the Tiger Dora. It just works the same and such. Which is why I was a bit confused with how it was reading. Jeez. Because I thought these two would have actually done something. Because at least the Ninja Sword reads these two as Donbrothers gears and such. But again, interestingly enough, this one doesn't. And again, that's kind of it. Again, because again, it's gonna read it. This thing's gonna read the gears the same way as the Dawn Blaster, or as if you're using the Dawn Blaster. If you want that repetitiveness, then you're gonna have to watch the demo. Because obviously I'm going to get ragged on for not doing that. Where did I put it? But anyways, my thoughts overall on the DonZenkai Blade. It's pretty good. It definitely is a lot better than the Ninja Sword. After receiving the Ninja Sword, and then like us this getting revealed, I was kind of like, I guess I was doom posting it because I was like, guys, like, don't expect this thing to actually be like a good toy. It's probably going to be as poor as the Ninja Sword. But what saved this toy is the Zenkaiger uh compatibility. It's actually really cool. It's not the most intuitive thing. It's probably the most laziest way they went with it. And such because at least with each step and like with each of the like the Dawn Blaster had the basic like transformations, Zonglass Sword had the attacks, and then the Ryuko no Geki and the Tiger Ardora again followed up with that and such, but with the respective 6 members or extra members and such. And then Omikoshi Phoenix came in with like the final like power up sounds and such. So technically, in a way, there's not really much that this toy could have done. Like, it could have easily just recycled the Zonglass Sword sounds, like the finishers, but it didn't. I do like the approach they went with this and such. Like, the fact this thing can't actually read Gokaiger through Zenkaiger immediately makes this toy a lot better than the Ninja Sword. The Ninja Sword basically was only under 5 categories. Or basically it was only able to read like 5 gears at best. This thing can at least read up to the double like this thing at least has the double digits. I think personally my gripe with it is that there's not enough Zenkaiger stuff because it's very like I think my thing is that it's like this is more of like a Donbrothers. It's a Zenkaiger themed Donbrothers item, which I feel like it's kind of backwards from the Kiramiki Zenkai gear, because like you can tell like that was mainly sound wise that was kind of mostly Kiramager, but it's still again, it still like helped itself to incorporate like Zenkaiger elements and such. So I don't know. I guess in a way, I feel like they kind of missed the potential of doing so much more Zenkaiger-esque things with this thing, or actually making those gears have importance for this like within this thing. But instead, it's just kind of the same like it's kind of like a lower grade version. It's a more simplified version of the Zonglass sword for sure, because obviously this thing is just not as colorful because it's just a bunch of red LEDs, and you're kind of better off just playing with this thing by itself, which I think is kind of the whole point of mainly this thing is a standalone item. But I do appreciate that, unlike the Ninja Sword, they actually tried with its compatibility within the Dawn Blaster and such. Like, basically, now when I think about it, this thing is basically kind of the same reader as the Omikoshi Phoenix. But less. Because at least Omikoshi Phoenix and like so I guess like if we have to go from the readers, the semi readers, Ryuko no Geki is probably still the most, just because of like no. I think I don't know, because like I think Omikoshi Phoenix might still acknowledge more. Like they all still acknowledge more, but I just mean like the ones they actually went bothered to like actually program new things for it. Because like I want to rank Omikoshi Phoenix higher because of the fact they actually programmed the Geats gear to say new hero. But like out of Omikoshi Phoenix, the Ryuko no Geki, and this thing's like obviously like the lowest, just because it's like they at least did the bare minimum, like of actually trying. Like they did the bare like gears that needed individual sounds, and then just kind of like did whatever. I was actually honestly surprised all the alter gears. Like I was actually kind of intrigued that the alter gears do the final finisher. All the alter and Robotaro gears do that finisher and such. Because I was only expecting the Zenkaiger or the Victory Super Gear to do that, to the extent the Zenkaiger Alter Gear, but I actually kind of like that they applied it to all the rest, just so then you can have that consistency and such. But like, other than that, like, I think it is kind of a missed opportunity of like compatibility wise, because I like what they have by itself. I like that they were like mixing the two sounds together and such. It's always fun when they do that. But I think they definitely could have gone. They could have expanded that a lot more and such, because I think the idea of this item is really cool. But it's just like there's just honestly with how it was executed, it just kind of comes out of nowhere and out of coincidence, basically. So it's just like I can't I can't blame anyone for saying that this is not really as desirable, just because of the fact, the stuff you get out of it when you when you use it with the Dawn Blaster is just not as exciting technically as the Zongwa sword and such. Like, obviously, it makes sense to cash in on the success of the Zongwa sword, which is, I still think it's cool that they decided to do a weapon for a pack-in. It just makes sense, as opposed to like a gear or something like that. And again, they actually went through the effort of actually giving this something new, because I do like that they molded a Sentai gear onto here, as opposed to just coloring a Avataro gear as such. But overall, recommending this, it's fine. It's just, it really depends if you're that much of a completionist, especially because, again, this gear you already have through this gear, and it's just going to be a lot more easier to get this as opposed to buying this whole entire set. Because obviously, because of the fact this is a sword, obviously trying to get the full set is going to cost. I think it's still like the standard like $132 that they always sell these sets at. But I think for a DVD pack-in, this is more worth it, just because it's gonna take up more space, obviously. But it makes more sense because it's a sword, and it's like, yeah, of course you're gonna justify that price more than whether or not, as opposed to like, oh, like here's a set of like this gimmick and such, because it's just like, obviously they just try really hard to like blow up the prices and such, but it's just like I kind of, well, we are getting the return of like roleplay weapons or like just transformation devices with the two King Ultra versus Visa Nexus, which kind of scummy on Bandai, but like it if you're it just basically, if you're a huge fan, because the issue is that like I feel like if you're a Zenkaiger fan, you probably don't want to buy into this because it's like heavily a Donbrothers thing. It looks like a Zenkaiger thing, but it only resembles something of Zenkaiger, but it's not a Zenkaiger item because it's still heavily evolved around Donbrothers and such. Which is why I feel like it's kind of weird that they repurpose things from the Zonglass sword. I would have preferred if like they went more with like actually having the voice of the Geartlinger doing the stuff with this toy, because I think they actually did get her back. I but I'm not I'm personally gonna say they didn't. It's like a 50-50 because I feel like the bangs are slightly new. I know the majority of them are like reused. I can tell that the majority of them are reused. But with the finisher, for example, I think that's a new like recording and such. But other than that, like, yeah, it's not a bad toy, but it's kind of not that easy to recommend. Because, like, if you want something at least, like, especially because, again, I'm thinking the Kirmiki Zenkaiger. Again, I think, again, like I said before, what also throws me off is that there's no phrases, which I kind of would have preferred if there was, but I guess I don't mind the lack of phrases if we actually were able to, if it was for the fact we actually got more sounds of when you use this in the Dawn Blast than the Ninja Sword. I'm always going to keep saying that. Like, the Ninja Sword is like a big disappointment, and it should know what it is. But yeah, just try to get this as cheap as you can, even if it means that you get it without the like cool like shipper box it comes in, or like, you know, if it if you get this for 70 just with this it's by itself, then I think it's justified and such. But yeah, I think that'll have to do this review. Now I can finally, again, we're technically one Donbrothers product away. Yeah,